Mom, you can't be serious. I almost shouted into the phone. The hum of the refrigerator and the whir of the washing machine filled the background as I paced my tiny apartment. I am serious, dear, my mom's voice came through with that tone of finality that told me there was no room for negotiation. We've been planning this family vacation for months. You know how important it is for us to have some time together. But why do I have to be the one to stay behind? I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. I already have plans for that weekend. I told you I was going to a music festival with my friends. Yes, and I'm sure it's a lot of fun, Mom said, clearly uninterested in my social life. But your sister's situation is a bit more urgent. She needs you to watch the kids while she takes care of some personal business. I sighed deeply, looking around at the mess of my apartment. But why not ask someone else? What about Aunt Linda or Grandma? Linda's on vacation herself, and Grandma's not in the best shape to handle 2 toddlers. Plus, we don't want to impose on her. You're the best option we have. Mom, I get that, but I've been looking forward to this festival for months. I've already paid for my tickets, and this is the first time I've had a chance to really unwind since I started working. I understand, but your sister really needs you. It's only for a couple of days. I was about to argue further when my doorbell rang. Hold on a second, Mom. I put the phone down and went to answer the door. Hey, Jess. My friend Carla greeted me with a wide grin, holding up a box of pizza. I thought you might be hungry. Perfect timing, I said, trying to mask my frustration. I gestured for Carla to come in and close the door behind her. Everything okay? Carla asked as she settled on the couch and began unpacking the pizza. I flopped down next to her. Not really. My mom's insisting I stay behind to babysit while the family goes on vacation. She's completely disregarding my plans. Ugh, that sucks, Carla said, grabbing a slice of pizza. You've been talking about this festival for ages. It's not fair for them to just drop this on you. I know, right? I tried to explain that I have my own life and commitments, but she just doesn't get it. She kept saying it's only for a couple of days, like that makes it any better. Carla chewed thoughtfully for a moment. Have you tried talking to your sister about it? Maybe she could find someone else or adjust her plans. Not yet, I admitted. But she's always been a bit entitled when it comes to asking for favors. I don't want to come off as unhelpful, but I also don't want to miss out on something I've been looking forward to. Well, maybe you should have a direct conversation with her, Carla suggested. She might be more understanding if you explain your side of things. I sighed. You're right. I guess I should at least give it a shot. After finishing the pizza, Carla left, and I sat at my desk, staring at my phone. I knew I had to make the call, but I was dreading it. With a deep breath, I dialed my sister's number. Hello? Her voice was cheery, but I could sense the underlying stress. Hey, Linda. It's me. We need to talk. Oh, hi. Sure, what's up? I'm really not happy about this babysitting thing, I said, trying to keep my tone neutral. I've got plans, and I was really looking forward to them. There was a pause on the other end. I understand, but I'm in a bit of a tight spot here. I need to handle some personal matters that I can't reschedule. I get that, but I've already committed to something. Can't you find someone else to help out? Maybe someone from your church group or a neighbor? I've tried that, she said, sounding defensive. Everyone's busy or out of town. You're the only one who's available and willing. I really need your help. I'm not trying to be difficult, but it feels like my plans are being completely disregarded, I said, feeling frustration rise in my voice. I've been looking forward to this festival for a long time, and it's really important to me. Linda sighed. Look, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you feel unimportant. It's just that this situation came up unexpectedly, and I didn't have many options. Maybe you could find a compromise, I suggested. What if I help you out for part of the time? I can take care of the kids for a day or two, but I need to be at the festival for the other days. I don't know if that's possible, Linda said, sounding unsure. The whole thing's a bit complicated. Let me see if there's a way to make it work. All right, I said, feeling a bit better but still unsure. Just let me know as soon as you can. We ended the call, and I sat back in my chair, feeling a mix of relief and unease. I knew it wasn't the end of the discussion, but I hoped my sister would understand my perspective. The next few days would be crucial in determining whether I could salvage my plans or if I would be stuck with a weekend of babysitting. The days following my call with Linda were filled with uncertainty. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart skipped a beat, hoping for a text or call from my sister with a potential compromise. Instead, I found myself mulling over our conversation, replaying it in my mind and growing increasingly anxious. By Thursday evening, I was at home, flipping through the channels aimlessly. The excitement I usually felt about relaxing after a long work week was overshadowed by the looming possibility of a weekend spent babysitting. My phone finally rang, and my heart raced as I saw Linda's name on the screen. "Hey," I answered, trying to sound casual. "What's up?" "Hi," Linda replied. "I've been thinking about what you said. I think we might be able to work something out." "Really? That's great to hear," I said, sitting up straighter. "What did you come up with?" "Well, I spoke to a friend who might be able to help out for part of the time," Linda began. "She's willing to take the kids for a day or two, but it still leaves some gaps. Would you be willing to cover those gaps? It's not ideal, but it's the best I can do right now." I considered this for a moment. "So, let me get this straight. I would only need to babysit for a day or so, and the rest of the time, someone else would handle it?" "Yes, that's right. I'd really appreciate it if you could make this work," Linda said earnestly. "I know it's not perfect, but it would help me out a lot." I thought about it, weighing the pros and cons. The festival was important to me, but family responsibilities were equally significant. "Okay, I think I can work with that. I'll adjust my plans to cover the days you need. Just let me know the schedule." "Thank you so much." Linda's relief was palpable. "I'll finalize everything and get back to you with the details. I really owe you one." "I'll look forward to the details," I said, trying to sound upbeat. "Let me know if there's anything specific you need me to do." After we hung up, I felt a mix of relief and resignation. At least I wouldn't miss the entire festival, but I still had to adjust my plans. I quickly checked the festival schedule and realized I would miss the first day's performances but could make it for the following ones. It wasn't ideal, but it was something. Later that night, while I was organizing my stuff, my phone dinged with a message from Linda. She had sent over a detailed schedule and a few notes about the kids' routines. I skimmed through it, noting down important points and preparing myself mentally for the responsibility. The next day, I called Carla to fill her in. "Hey, Carla. I managed to work something out with my sister. I'll be babysitting for part of the weekend, so I'll miss the first day of the festival but can make it for the rest." "That's better than nothing," Carla said sympathetically. "At least you get to enjoy part of it. I'm sure it'll still be a blast." "Yeah, I hope so," I said. "It's just frustrating having to adjust everything. I was really looking forward to seeing all the acts." "I totally get it," Carla replied. "But you're doing the right thing by helping out your sister. Maybe next time, you can plan something for yourself without these last-minute changes." We chatted a bit more, and I felt somewhat better. By the time I hung up, I had a clearer sense of how I would balance the two commitments. The festival was a big deal for me, but I also wanted to be supportive to my sister. On Saturday morning, I arrived at Linda's house. The kids, Sophie and Max, greeted me with their usual enthusiasm. Sophie, who was 5, immediately launched into a high-pitched rendition of her favorite song, while Max, who was 3, clung to my leg, his eyes wide and curious. "Hey, guys," I said, kneeling down to their level. "How about we have a fun day together?" Sophie's eyes lit up. "Are we going to the park?" "Not today," I said gently. "But we can do some fun activities at home. Maybe some arts and crafts?" Max's face brightened at the mention of crafts, and Sophie quickly agreed. We spent the morning making colorful paintings and playing with toys, and I managed to keep them entertained without too much hassle. When it was time for lunch, I prepared sandwiches and fruit, and we sat together at the table, chatting and laughing. Throughout the day, I found myself enjoying the kids' company more than I had anticipated. Despite the initial frustration, I was reminded of how rewarding it could be to spend time with family, even under less than ideal circumstances. Later in the afternoon, Linda's friend arrived to take over. I quickly handed over the reins, feeling a mix of relief and sadness as I said goodbye to Sophie and Max. As I drove to the festival, the excitement began to build up again. I arrived just in time for the second day's lineup, and the energy of the crowd was palpable. I got my ticket checked and made my way to the main stage, where I could already hear the distant thrum of music. Despite the hiccups in my plans, I was ready to embrace the experience. As I joined the crowd and let the music wash over me, I couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. Balancing family obligations and personal desires wasn't easy, but sometimes, finding a middle ground was all you could ask for. The next 2 days were a whirlwind of incredible performances and memorable moments. I was glad I could still be part of the festival, even if I had to adjust my expectations. And while I knew I had missed some of the earlier acts, I felt a newfound appreciation for both the family I had helped and the experiences I had managed to enjoy. The festival was everything I'd hoped for. The music was electric, the crowd was enthusiastic, and the atmosphere was alive with excitement. I danced, sang along, and let myself be swept up in the joy of it all. But as the final day approached, I couldn't shake the worry that the peaceful family dynamics I had been trying to maintain might unravel. Monday morning arrived, and the festival had ended in a blaze of colors and melodies. I was exhilarated but exhausted as I headed back to Linda's house to pick up the kids. My phone buzzed with a message from Carla, asking how things were going. I texted back, letting her know I was on my way to pick up Sophie and Max, and that things were generally okay. When I arrived at Linda's house, I was greeted by Sophie's beaming smile and Max's enthusiastic hug. The house was in chaos, with toys scattered everywhere and a sink full of dishes. It seemed Linda's friend had left things in a bit of a mess. I mentally prepared myself to tackle the aftermath while entertaining the kids. As I got settled, Linda arrived home, looking visibly relieved. "Hey," she said, giving me a warm hug. "Thank you so much for taking care of everything. I'm really sorry about the mess." "It's all right," I said, glancing around. I expected it. The kids were great, though. We had a lot of fun. Linda smiled, but there was something in her eyes that made me wary. "I'm glad to hear that. I know it's not easy juggling everything." "Yeah, it wasn't too bad," I said, attempting to sound cheerful. "But it would be nice if things could be a bit more organized next time." Linda's smile faltered slightly. "I'm really sorry. I just had a lot on my plate. I appreciate you being so flexible." Before I could respond, Linda's phone rang. She answered it and spoke quietly, glancing at me with an apologetic expression. After a few minutes, she hung up and turned back to me. "Sorry about that," she said. "I need to take care of some errands this afternoon. Would you be able to watch the kids a bit longer? I'll make it up to you, I promise." My heart sank. I had planned to spend the afternoon catching up on some much-needed rest and unwinding after the festival. "I really need to head back home," I said carefully. "I've got some things I need to take care of myself." Linda's face fell. "I understand. It's just that things are a bit hectic right now. Can't you stay just a little longer? It would mean a lot." I hesitated. "All right, I'll stay for a bit. But I need to leave by early evening. I've got commitments tonight." "Thank you so much," Linda said, clearly relieved. "I'll make sure to get back as soon as I can." As Linda left, I settled the kids into a game of building blocks, trying to keep them occupied. My mind kept drifting back to the festival, and I felt a pang of disappointment at having to cut my free time short. I wondered if there was a better way to handle these situations without sacrificing my own plans. The afternoon dragged on as Sophie and Max played and I tidied up the house. I noticed the mounting pile of laundry and the crumbs on the floor, feeling a growing frustration. I had hoped this situation would be a one-time occurrence, but it seemed like the complications were ongoing. By the time Linda returned, I was more than ready to go. I quickly packed up my things and prepared to leave. Linda seemed in high spirits, chatting animatedly about how her errands went. "Thanks again for watching the kids," she said, giving me another hug. "I really appreciate it." "No problem," I replied, though my voice lacked enthusiasm. "I'm just glad I could help out. I'll see you later." As I drove home, I felt a mix of relief and frustration. The weekend had been a balancing act of family obligations and personal desires, and it hadn't been entirely satisfying. I needed to figure out a way to communicate my boundaries more clearly in the future without feeling guilty. Back at my apartment, I collapsed onto the couch, exhausted. The festival had been an amazing experience, but the additional responsibilities had left me drained. I decided to spend the evening catching up on rest and reflecting on the events of the past few days. The next day, at work, I couldn't help but think about how to approach future requests from my family. I needed to set clearer boundaries while still being supportive. My coworkers noticed my distraction and asked about the festival. I recounted the highlights, trying to keep my tone upbeat despite my lingering frustration. As the week progressed, I found myself in a better headspace. The festival's memories brought a smile to my face, and I was grateful for the time I had at least partly enjoyed. I began to plan for the next time I would need to balance family responsibilities and personal commitments, determined to approach it with better preparation and clearer communication. The following weekend, I found myself unexpectedly free. With no immediate plans or family obligations, I took the opportunity to reflect on the events of the past few days. I spent my Saturday morning lounging around my apartment, catching up on sleep, and slowly coming to terms with the balancing act I had recently performed. As I sat on my couch with a cup of coffee, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Carla. "Hey, how's everything going? Want to grab lunch today?" I smiled, glad for the chance to catch up with my friend. "Sure, I'd love to. What time and where?" We agreed to meet at our favorite cafe downtown. When I arrived, Carla was already seated at a corner table, waving me over with a cheerful grin. "Hey, you," she called out as I approached. "I've missed you. How was the rest of the festival?" I slid into the chair opposite her. It was great, actually. The last 2 days were amazing. I'm really glad I got to go, even though I had to adjust my plans. Carla raised an eyebrow. And how did the babysitting go? You mentioned having to cut out early. I sighed, stirring my coffee. It was a bit chaotic. The kids were fine, but the situation with Linda was more complicated than I anticipated. She had to run more errands than expected, and I ended up staying longer than I wanted. That sounds frustrating, Carla said sympathetically. But you managed to balance things out pretty well, considering everything. I guess, I said, trying to put a positive spin on it. I'm learning that sometimes you have to set boundaries and communicate more clearly to avoid these kinds of situations. Carla nodded in agreement. Definitely. It's important to make your needs and plans known. Family is important, but it's okay to prioritize yourself too. We chatted about various topics over lunch, and I felt a renewed sense of clarity. Carla's support and advice were exactly what I needed to help me process my thoughts and emotions. By the time we finished our meal, I felt more equipped to handle similar situations in the future. Later that week, I decided to have a heart-to-heart conversation with Linda. I wanted to address how the recent events had affected me and find a way to better manage family expectations moving forward. I called Linda one evening after work. Hey, Linda. Do you have a few minutes to talk? Sure, Linda replied. What's on your mind? I just wanted to discuss how things went last weekend, I began. I've been thinking a lot about the whole babysitting situation and how it affected my plans. Linda's voice softened. I'm really sorry about that. I didn't mean to cause any frustration. I appreciate you being understanding and flexible. I know you didn't mean to cause issues, I said. But I think it's important for us to have clearer communication about these kinds of requests. It's really hard for me when my own plans are affected without notice. I understand, Linda said. I didn't realize how much it impacted you. I'll definitely try to be more mindful in the future. We continued the conversation, discussing ways to handle future requests more effectively. I suggested that we could plan things in advance and explore other options if a similar situation arose. Linda was receptive and promised to be more considerate of my commitments. By the end of the call, I felt a sense of relief. It was reassuring to know that we were on the same page and that we could work together to avoid misunderstandings in the future. The following weeks were smoother. I continued to enjoy my free time and personal pursuits while maintaining a better balance with family responsibilities. Linda and I kept in touch regularly, and I felt our relationship was stronger due to the open communication we had established. As summer approached, I began making plans for a new adventure, a solo trip I had been dreaming about for years. It was something I had wanted to do for myself, and I was determined to make it happen without any last-minute changes. One evening, while planning my trip, I received a call from Linda. Hi, I just wanted to check in and see how things are going. I know you're planning that solo trip soon. Hi, Linda, I said. Everything's going well. I'm really excited about the trip. I've been looking forward to it for a while. That's great to hear, Linda said. I just wanted to let you know that if you need anything or if plans change, I'll make sure not to ask for any last-minute favors. I want you to have a great time. I felt a warm glow of appreciation. Thanks, Linda. I really appreciate that. I'm looking forward to this trip and making some wonderful memories. As I prepared for my trip, I reflected on the lessons I had learned from the recent experiences. Balancing personal desires with family obligations wasn't always easy, but it was manageable with clear communication and setting boundaries. I was excited for my upcoming adventure and eager to embrace it with a sense of balance and fulfillment. In the end, the challenges I faced with my family had taught me valuable lessons about navigating relationships and prioritizing my own needs. It was a journey of growth and understanding, and I was ready to face whatever came next with a newfound sense of confidence and clarity.